Story number 1.
I can't stand my gay best friend. I have two best friends. For privacy, I'll call them Mac and Jack. Mac and I get along really well. We laugh together, have inside jokes, and insult each other playfully, knowing neither of us means it seriously. Jack, on the other hand, I don't even know where to start. First, I need to mention that he's gay, as noted in the title. Let me clarify that I'm not homophobic. I honestly don't care about anyone's sexuality, be it gay, lesbian, etc. It's all fine by me. But Jack takes things way too far. He constantly has crushes on 2 to 5 people at once and even has a set of rules about them. He refers to them using code names like wood, flat, or yellow, and I'm not allowed to say their real names. One of his crushes is a childhood friend of mine, and once when I accidentally said his real name, Jack freaked out as if I'd committed a serious crime. Once, Jack made me ask one of my friends for the phone number of one of his crushes. I did it, just to support him and to show I cared about our friendship. For a while, he became super polite and started doing nice things for me. But after I gave him the number, he drowned me in insults and rude comments. When I asked why he was insulting me, he admitted he had only acted nice to get what he wanted. When Jack needs something from me, he starts acting nice again, which I hate because it feels manipulative. He also makes me listen to endless hours of him talking about his crushes, little things like how someone looked at him or casually said hi. He interprets these small interactions as signs that they're in love with him. The worst part? Jack stalks all of his crushes. He says he just wants to know where they live. One time we were hanging out when one of his crushes casually walked by. Jack dropped everything, started following the person, and left me standing on the street. Hours later, he called me to say he had just stopped following them. I was shocked. He also has this rule about his crushes being the best, smarter, more attractive, and more charming than me. Just to clarify, I do not want Jack to like me romantically. I've started thinking about cutting him off without an explanation. Mac agrees with me, and is also considering ending his friendship with Jack. I don't know what to do.
Story number 2.
Classmate won't listen to input and gets humbled. Hi, this is my first Reddit story. The background for this is, at the time I was 20F and started school for becoming a technician for motorcycles. This was the first class after the basic courses. I had this other female around my age in the class, both of us wanting to work together since we were the only girls. Keep in mind, it's not required to have a partner, but recommended. She has a very big personality, and I do as well. We started on our first lab on dirt bikes, extremely light compared to other motorcycles. As I was going to put the dirt bike on the lift, the bike was not lined up. I started to lift the rear tire to line it up, same way to put it on a dirt bike stand. But immediately she was very distraught about that and was completely against it. She claimed it would be bad for my back and how unsafe it is, even adding how her dad was a technician for many years, etc., etc. Which I kinda understand if you aren't comfortable, but that doesn't mean it's unsafe. At least if you do it with good form or not. I may have a big personality, but hate confrontation, and avoid it at all cost. So I just end up doing like quite a few 3-point turns, which what L was avoiding. Avoiding because I want to be efficient and not do anything unnecessary to have more time for the other labs. After it's on the lift, the front end is clamped to the lift. Now it needs a dirt bike stand under it, so I asked her to get ready to put that under the frame of the bike while I lift the rear tire. She made a big fuss, even though I was the one who wanted to lift the rear tire. So she grabs the teacher for help, which is annoying because we have not even started the lab and we already are taking so long. He walks over to help and instructs me to lift the rear tire while she puts the stand under it. I give her a blank stare, laughing in my head. Now for the actual work on the bike. We were adjusting the rear shock. After completing the adjustment to specification, we needed to tighten the lock nut. So the adjustment nut was at spec, and the lock nut is what holds it at the spec. She did not understand that. She kept insisting the lock nut has its own spec too. In the service manual, it says to tighten the lock nut to the adjuster nut. I understand not wanting to believe a fellow student, but instead of going to the teacher to first, she went and asked every student, all of them repeating what I have said. Yes, every student. Me waiting while she asked every student. Finally, she asked the teacher, which then again explained what I said. This wasted so much time. I said I understand not wanting to trust my answer. But you should have went to the teacher first directly. We finally finished it way after the other students. Usually I would have been ahead. After this lab, we never talked or worked together. It's like we both agreed to avoid each other without even saying it.
Story number 3.
The Whispering Well. The small town of Blackwood had always been shrouded in mystery. At its center stood a centuries-old stone well, covered in moss and cracks. The locals called it the Whispering Well, and everyone knew the rule. Never lean too close. Never speak into it. Never listen to the whispers. Tales of the well stretched back generations. It was said that those who broke the rules disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only an echo of their last words. When Erin moved to Blackwood to escape her chaotic city life, she dismissed the stories as folklore. A well couldn't whisper, she reasoned. It was just a creepy town legend designed to keep kids from falling in. But curiosity has a way of gnawing at even the most rational minds. One evening, while wandering the town, Erin found herself in front of the well. The sun was setting, casting an eerie orange glow across the stone. She peered over the edge, half expecting to see nothing but dirt and rocks. Instead, the darkness seemed endless, a void that swallowed the light of her phone flashlight. She thought she heard something, a faint murmur, like a distant conversation carried on the wind. "Hello," she called, her voice echoing. For a moment there was silence. Then a whisper rose from the depths. "Why are you here?" Erin stumbled back, her heart pounding. She looked around, expecting to see someone playing a prank. But the square was deserted. She tried to shake it off as her imagination, but as she walked home, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. That night, she dreamed of the well. In her dream, she was standing at its edge, the whispers louder, clearer. They called her name, over and over, pulling her closer. She woke up in a cold sweat, her ears ringing with the faint echo of her name. The next day, Erin decided to ask the locals about the well. At the diner, she approached an older woman who seemed friendly enough. "What's the deal with that old well in the square?" Erin asked. The woman's face darkened. "You didn't go near it, did you?" "Maybe a little," Erin admitted, laughing nervously. The woman leaned in, her voice low. "That well's been cursed for as long as anyone can remember. They say it's a gateway, and once you hear it, it doesn't stop until it gets what it wants." "What does it want?" The woman shook her head. "No one knows, but everyone who listens too closely, they don't stay." Erin laughed it off, but the whispers didn't stop. Every night they grew louder, more insistent. They spoke in fragments, calling her by name, pleading, threatening. One evening, unable to take it anymore, Erin returned to the well. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice shaking. The whispers stopped abruptly, replaced by a deep, guttural voice. "You came back." The ground beneath her feet trembled, and she stumbled, grabbing the edge of the well for support. She felt something cold and wet brush her hand, like fingers, and she recoiled. Peering into the darkness, she saw them. Hands, pale and skeletal, reaching up toward her. Erin ran home, locking every door and window. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she decided she had to leave Blackwood. She packed her bags, booked a ticket, and called a cab to take her to the nearest train station. As she waited, she heard it again. The whisper, this time coming from inside her home. "You can't leave." The lights flickered and the air grew cold. She grabbed her bags and ran outside, but the street was empty. Where her cab should have been, there was only silence. And then she saw it. The well. It was impossible. It couldn't have moved. But there it was, standing in the middle of the road, its dark mouth open wide. Terrified, Erin turned and ran in the opposite direction. No matter which way she went, the well appeared before her, its whispers growing louder, more insistent. Finally, exhausted and desperate, she screamed into the night, "What do you want from me?" The whispers stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the voice spoke again, clearer than ever. You. The next morning, the townspeople found Erin's car abandoned on the side of the road. Her house was empty, her belongings untouched. The only clue to her disappearance was a single chilling detail. Her voice echoed from the well, faint and desperate, whispering, "Why are you here?" No one dared to listen too closely.